Hello everyone and welcome back to DiabloCast, your Diablo 3 podcast. Here we keep you up to date on any recent news and information on the Diablo 3 universe. I'm having a hard time. It's been a while since we made videos here. So anyways, yeah, we keep you up to date on everything going on in the world of Diablo. However, today, well, we're not going to talk about anything because we're on an NDA, so.
Pretty much.
That's about that. Yeah, there's not a lot in terms of what we could possibly talk to you about, but we do still have a few topics for this week's DiabloCast. Last week, or I believe it was the week before last, sometime after our last recording of DiabloCast, there was a reveal of some beta box art. We're also going to be talking about casual and Diablo 3, how those two things coincide, the upcoming conference call, which is certainly something to be excited about, and, well, we won't be revealing anything about Diablo 3 because we can't. I don't know.
Soon, though.
Yeah, soon. Very soon. Very soon. In fact, who knows? Maybe we'll have a huge spoiler. It's pretty exciting stuff. But anyways, yeah, so let's go into this week's DiabloCast. We're going to be starting things off with the beta box art reveal. So as mentioned, not too long ago, there was, well, some beta box art that popped up on the official Diablo 3, or the official Battle.net, that's what it was, the official Battle.net homepage, basically. It was a data mine, Kevin? Is that how this came about, or?
Right, so essentially, if you could figure out the link, then that's how you'll find the picture, which, I mean, I've been looking for a while. Just a couple weeks ago, I was looking again. I mean, it's not really that difficult to find, but if you gotta kind of be smart and understand like how the pages are made, which
like categorizing and everything like that.
Right. I mean, I've been dealing with Blizzard and Battle.net for a while now, and I was able to find the stuff for the StarCraft 2 beta, so I kind of knew about the Diablo 3 ones. And I guess our friends over at MMO Champion were the first people to find it, so I did a little bit of snooping myself and found a couple of other images that I showed, and I guess kind of got distributed as everybody else started to see them. Basically, what they are is it's now when we say box art, it's not like an actual box art that you'll get like in a package and somebody will send to you. It's just like a placeholder kind of a thing for your Battle.net account. So if you are added to the beta, you'll go into your account, you'll click download, and then that's the image it'll show you. It's not like a legitimate box art. It's just kind of a placeholder, temporary kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But what it does mean is that it's getting added to our Battle.net accounts, and that could potentially be a sign of the beta. So I mean,
yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's it's obviously exciting, the fact that this asset was added, and it was found through people who basically just search for this stuff all day because they cannot wait for the D3 beta. But it's pretty awesome, and that does mean the fact that they've implemented it into the Battle.net servers means that it's probably right around the corner. So
yep, seems like they're gearing up for it. I mean, I'm hoping it's only a short amount of time until we see like a legit Diablo 3 community site instead of these old classic forums that we're using currently.
Yeah, for sure. That'll cut back on all the trolling as well. Thank God.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
So tired of it. So yeah, the beta box art. It isn't an announcement, but it is neat that it was found, and the implication behind that, of course, being that the beta could be right around the corner. And there's really not much to say about that. In fact, I even know that Kevin, you said you didn't even bother putting that on the front page of Diablo fans, just because it's cool, but it's not, there's not much to say about it. So
yeah, I mean, it's pretty much just hey, look at this, and that's about it. I mean, it doesn't actually mean anything. They could still say, okay, beta won't be until another 2 months or something like that. But I mean, it is cool to know, hey, they started putting stuff up on the servers and getting ready and gearing towards a Diablo 3 beta in regards to the whole Battle.net account system.
Yeah, very true, very true. All right, so it does it for the beta box art, and let's move now into the casual Diablo 3. What do I mean by that? Some people won't be too happy with that saying. Obviously, Diablo 3 and the hardcore fans are quite hardcore, and by hardcore, I just mean to the extent of fandom, not necessarily hardcore mode fans. But, Diablo 3 has a very avid following, and to hear the fact that it would be classified as a casual game could be pretty infuriating to people. Now, we have to kind of clarify what casual means in the sense, and how Diablo kind of makes Diablo 3 a casual game if defined. In in said spectrum. Now, Bashiok did basically respond to a forum post referring to Diablo 3 as casual and talking about the accessibility of the game and how that may not exactly directly correlate to casual, just because a game is easy to get a hold of and get your hands on and start working through it doesn't necessarily mean it is a casual game. But how Bashiok retorted was that he actually thinks, yes, Diablo 3 is casual, specifically trying to pinpoint to the fact that casual in the eyes of Blizzard, and I would say I more or less agree with this statement. Casual means it's something something you can pick up and put down. Let's think Angry Birds or Farmville or any of these large kind of
right.
These very, very casual friendly games. Any game that you can just pick up, do something quickly, and put it down. And Bashiok goes as far as to say that, well, Diablo 3 kind of fits that niche, and I would more or less have to agree. If we look at let's just stick within the franchise, because obviously we could look across the entire industry for other games. But if we look just at the franchises of Blizzard, the large ones being, of course, World of Warcraft, there's the Diablo franchises, and then the StarCraft franchise. Well, in StarCraft, you could say that's more or less casual because you could just play a game or two and then leave. But, playing a game could mean 20, 30, 40 minutes, and that's just one single game. Obviously, you don't want to leave before because you lose, and that's a big, heavy hit. In World of Warcraft, yes, you could log on and do certain things like quests, but more or less, if you ever want to get anything done, you have to go through raids, and those things can take 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours for the very hardcore players, and obviously that in a sense would make it kind of uncasual. And then we go to a game like Diablo where, I mean, man, especially if you look at Diablo 2, you could just bang through bail run after bail run after bail run. And that's really the thing about that, though, is that you could just leave at any given point. You go in, do a quick run, and then you drop, and then that's it. So in that sense, Bashiok is referring to Diablo 3 as casual. But with that said, I would have to say, discussing, hey, if you want to get anything accomplished, well, just because you can pick it up and put it down doesn't mean you are going to accomplish anything. So maybe with that in mind, that it isn't necessarily as casual. How do you feel about that, Kevin? Just in general, referring to Diablo as casual.
I mean, I more or less agree with him. I mean, I guess I wouldn't really call it casual, but in the way he puts it, I think I do agree with him just because of everything you pretty much just said. I basically, there's really nothing left for me to say about that because I think, what is this, like the Force podcast now?
I pulled the wings. I pulled the wind out of your sails. I can't even say these words. It's been, man, I tell you, it's been so long since I've recorded. I'm just all flabbergasted now. But yeah, I mean, it's. I guess it makes sense. I mean, do you personally feel, though? I mean, obviously it can be hardcore, but I suppose any game could be hardcore.
Well,
if by hardcore you mean play nonstop,
Right. So like he said, I mean, yes, you can go ahead and spend 6 hours straight playing the game if you want, but just having Diablo has the ability for you to just jump in, kill some monsters, progress in some kind of way, whether it be the story or experience or any kind of loot drops. It makes it more casual in that sense, just simply because you don't have to jump in and spend hours and hours and hours to have any kind of progression. Like you and I were playing StarCraft that day, and you pretty much said, we played StarCraft for like 6 hours or something like that. And at the end of it, it was like, okay, this is kind of ridiculous. I don't really feel any kind of accomplishment out of it.
We got nothing done, yeah.
Right. So I mean, whereas Diablo, you can just jump in, play for 15 minutes, and I mean, you've accomplished, you've progressed. It makes it more casually approachable was actually the exact words that Bashiok used. So, and I mean, I guess you're to use these examples, whereas World of Warcraft, you actually have to spend hours and hours doing stuff in order to progress even in the least bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could jump in and do a couple quests, play the auction house a little bit, but for the most part, I mean, you have to sit down and spend a decent amount of time.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too with Diablo, let's just talk about. I mean, the main focus of these any type of RPG game is typically gear, more or less. So we meant if we do any sort of comparison between a game like WoW and a game like Diablo 3, the thing is, in a game like WoW, you do have to spend hours and hours to have a chance at the end tier, the high tier gear. But in Diablo, I mean, you could literally go out of town, kill 3 monsters, and get the most legendary item in the game. It's
right.
not probable, but it's possible, and I think that's the kind of thing that makes it, I could just play for a little bit, and by luck I get this, and there you go, I'm all set.
Right, exactly, because of how Diablo is designed. Diablo as opposed to World of Warcraft has, a random item drops, whereas World of Warcraft, the high end whatever gear that everybody wants, not everybody can have because I mean, what does it take? Like, the 40-man raids and all that stuff. Maybe a really hardcore PvPer in order to get half the end game stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, in Diablo, it's more or less based on luck, and I guess if you kill enough monsters, eventually you'll end up with the probability of getting said drops.
Yeah, and I suppose we can add in a kind of an amendment to that. With all of this said, I definitely feel like myself and anyone I know never played Diablo casually. Like it was always,
without a doubt,
it was always a hardcore thing, spending countless hours. I can even remember, when the game first came out, I was on a skiing trip with my family, and I skipped a day of skiing just to play Diablo. Like I sat in the hotel room with the laptop that my parents had and just played the game. And that's just the kind of extent that you go to with these types of games, and it really is. So certainly for myself and for friends of mine, we never played casually, but it's casually approachable, like you said, and like Bashiok said.
Definitely. And I just wanted to add this on. I mean, and we've talked about this previously. I believe it was in our BattleNet podcast. Assuming they do something like a Diablo remote app so we can handle whatever from our phones, check whatever armory and whatnot directly from our phones. I mean, yeah, it's casual, but those of us that want to put the time in, we definitely can. So, I mean, it's not like we're being discouraged or restricted from doing that. It's definitely, the possibilities are definitely there. It's just Diablo as far as most of the public can see it, as far as in their eyes, it'll be casual in the sense that they could just jump in, play a little bit, and get out.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, Gzum, if you especially, I was trying not to cuss too hard there, but came out with Gzum. But if you compare it to a game like StarCraft, that game is so intense, and there's a lot of attrition in a game like StarCraft because it's so crazy competitive. It's very difficult to stay on a top tier of a game like that, and it is very hardcore. And I've seen it stated numerous times that it's much more viewer friendly than it is player friendly. A lot of people much prefer to watch commentaries than to play themselves because the game can be so intense and so engaging, and that's definitely the case. I mean, coming from someone who played StarCraft, Diablo, Warcraft, tons of games, very hardcore, StarCraft's definitely one of the most intense. It requires the most amount of attention compared to other games. I mean, yes, I can sit down and play Diablo for 8-10 hours, but I can just do that leaning back in my chair and just spamming the left and right click. You know what I mean?
Right, you're not sitting there sweating bullets like StarCraft 2.
Yeah,
like adrenaline pumping and
exactly. Yeah, it's and that's not to take away from the experience. That's definitely many more times preferable. StarCraft is enjoyable, but at the same time, it is a strain. It takes a lot of energy. You need to focus, or else you get your ass whooped.
After
it's
two
plain
games,
and simple.
I mean, if I win 2 games, oh man, I'm pumped just because the adrenaline's been flowing. Whereas if I lose 2 games, it's like, screw this, I don't want to play this game. I hate this game.
Yeah.
I mean, Diablo 3. It's like I can just kind of chill, play, do whatever. I mean, yeah, PvP. I know you and I are gonna be PvPing a lot. Assuming you're still my friend,
We'll see.
But I mean, I'm sure it'll be competitive, but
yeah, well, anything that involves an opposing player, that always is more intense, more competitive. You know what I mean? Because an AI is only going to do so much. Yes, they can make it more difficult. They can make it impossible for you to kill, and they can make the AI one-shot you, but that's not so much difficult as it is just
still,
you're getting instant gibbed. You know what I mean? Yeah, and that's the truth. It is still a computer, and having a thinking opponent is always more difficult, and it always provides kind of a greater adrenaline rush because someone else is on the other end eating their Cheetos and slugging back their Mountain Dew and just going to town. But that's not an image I want in my head, anyways. But no, I mean, and again, to make those just because I know people hate when we compare this game to Diablo 3. I mean, when we compare Diablo 3 to World of Warcraft. But so just compare it to StarCraft 2 in terms of intensity of the playtime. And again, I want to reiterate, this isn't to take anything at all away from Diablo 3. It is by far my most enjoyed franchise. The Diablo franchise is my most enjoyed between the 3 of
same with me.
Of Blizzard. but it isn't as intense. That's just a fact. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. And people can kid themselves all they want, but sitting back and just clicking nonstop isn't as difficult as any kind of thought process that comes out with such a heavy RTS as StarCraft. But again, that's not to take away from it. It's my favorite. I enjoy it. Vegging out is certainly why most people play video games. You know what I mean? So that's what it's there for. Now, again, we're still on the topic of hardcore versus casual in terms of type of games. We should also mention that anyone probably listening to this podcast won't be playing casually. We're pre-beta. We're some obscure Diablo podcast on the internet. Sure. I mean, anyone listening to this won't probably fall within the realm of the casual Diablo player. But it is important to realize that it is casually approachable. So I guess that's how we can wrap it all up. That we know that most of you listening aren't casual, so you don't have to rage about how hardcore you are and how you're going to play for 48 straight hours, take a 1 hour nap, drink a 5 hour energy nonstop for another 48 hours. Yeah. Because we know that's going to happen, and that's cool. But in the grand scheme of things, Diablo's more or less casual. Now, the rest, there was just kind of one last line there for Bashiok in that same discussion, in which he talked about accessibility versus ease. And going into how their games are designed, Bashiok said, we like to make our games and still our games with an easy-to-learn, difficult-to-master approach. And, that seems more or less reasonable. We expect normal to be very, very easy in Diablo 3. And on top of that, we know that the followers are supposed to be kind of your auto companion through at least normal, I
mean, on that note, Bashiok had made another post basically saying that players won't really feel a sense of difficulty until they complete normal.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I'm not sure if we know at this point whether or not the beta will include any more than normal. So... I mean, and if that's the case, then I do actually. I think he made the comment somewhere that during the beta, we won't be getting a glimpse of how difficult it will be. So I guess.
I mean, assuming they don't give us the full game, which I mean, I'm doubting they will, just because of spoilers and whatnot. But we've known this for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know. I doubt that they'll let us play through Nightmare in Hell, even if it is just, like the first act or the first 2 acts or whatever it is that they give us. I don't know. I feel like they'll probably only give us normal regardless.
Yeah. So, and again, that's just an interesting, it's an interesting thing to keep in mind, especially, we look at the demos that have been played and people are like, oh, this is so easy. Diablo 3 is going to be the easiest game. The demos are designed that way. And I think a number one reason is because, it's, you couldn't, if someone's sitting down for a 15-minute demo, they're not going to have you die every 3 seconds. That would suck. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't like it. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, that, and I mean, when they're giving us demos, you know how embarrassing it would be if they died in the demo?
That's pretty much what I expect. I mean, nothing against, but a lot of times when I see any of the official gameplay footage, I'm like, God, who played this? This guy's terrible.
Right.
He's not even like.
Well, I mean, they use like God mode or whatever, so that way they don't. It's easy.
You're not playing. You're not playing carefully when you're just mowing over everything, pretty much.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, so I mean, we kind of stretched that out, and actually, this podcast is probably already twice as long as we expected it to be. But it's just an interesting discussion, and I mean, definitely let us know what you guys think below in terms of the casual mindset that is Diablo 3. Remember, under that definition of the fact that you can hop in, hop out, you don't have to play for 8 straight hours. You can just do a little bit of whatever and still kind of get something accomplished. So let us know what you guys think about that. And also, if you do play other games, I feel like a lot of people don't play other games. Like, every time we mention anything other than Diablo, like, oh my gosh, you guys play things other than Diablo. But if you play other games, let me know what you think about the Diablo franchise in comparison to those, and if you agree with our kind of our assessment of StarCraft in comparison to Diablo or anything else compared to other games. We just want to know what you guys think in the comments below, and feel free to troll us too, because I love reading those. So
as far as accessibility versus ease go, I just wanted to kind of throw this out there. I think a perfect example of that in Diablo 3 specifically is the whole thing with the monk, and we talked about this previously also. Basically, the combo point system, if you can get to like level 3, is your finisher. I don't remember what they specifically called it, but there's 3 levels of each spell. Yeah, yes, the topper. There's 3 levels of each spell, and you don't necessarily have to use the third level, and there's no indication of what level you're currently on while you're playing. So that's just something that, a first-time player can jump in and say, "Oh, this is cool." Sometimes he'll do a cool move and sometimes he won't. Whereas somebody who plays the monk a lot will, who has mastered the monk, can understand, okay, I have to do this, and then hit this button in order for it to do the topper on this specific spell.
Yeah.
Instead of, okay, click, 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 click.
Sure, yeah. And that's true. Actually, I remember noticing too when looking at the monk B-roll footage. I think it was it 09 or 08?
Yes, 2009 was.
It was 09. When looking at it, I ended up doing that kind of that video which I highlighted the different spells and abilities. And when going through that, which by the way took hours just to cut every single little piece out, but when going through it, I noticed that like when looking at things like the 7-sided strike, sometimes it would be he would flash out, I guess I'll call it, when he disappears and then he appears in various positions like all around this giant rune. Sometimes he would do it 2 times, sometimes he would do it like 7 times. I don't remember the top number, but it became abundantly clear to me at that point. It's like, okay, so this is basically how far along the combo system is. Were he on rank 3, he would do that maximum amount, let's call it 7. But if you just start off with the 7-sided strike, then he's only going to do it like 1 or 2 times. So that's basically kind of how it works. If you want to get the maximum effectiveness of your toppers, you do have to consistently make sure you're on that third level. And again, that just goes back to what you were saying, how you can just spam, but if you're paying attention and you really want to truly master and be as efficient as possible, then you do really have to really pay attention and really focus on it. So, all
right. So just to reiterate, this is the whole easy to learn, difficult to master approach that Blizzard's taking on Diablo 3. So.
Yeah. All right. Wow. We really just talked about a whole bunch of stuff there. So that's cool. Let's move right on to the upcoming conference call. Now, this conference call is going to be taking place on the 3rd, and that is actually just a few days away. What is the 3rd exactly?
Wednesday.
It is a Wednesday. So, on the 3rd, and do we have a time? Do you know that offhand?
1:30 PST, which is 4:30 Eastern.
Okay, so 1:30 PST, 4:30 Eastern time. If you are in other parts of the world and or country, do the math. But anyways, yes, on the 3rd, there will be that conference call. This conference call is certainly, we expect to hear something about the beta. Be it's starting next week, it's taking longer than expected, it'll be another month or 2, whatever. We will hear something about the beta. During the last conference call that took place, we heard beta will be starting in this quarter of the year. So during this conference call, they're obviously going to give us some sort of an update as to where they are in the progression of actually fulfilling that and coming out with the beta. And if it doesn't come out this quarter, it would suck, but at least we'll know about it at this point. So with that said, the conference call will be taking place at said times that Kevin just gave. We'll be making another video giving you guys an update as well. We will be doing a live podcast, much as we did during the last one. And last time, Kevin, we just pretty much we answered community questions, and actually this will be a great one because I guarantee people are gonna have lots of questions about the press event. And I gotta be honest, recording this podcast, I have to think twice before every sentence.
What we say,
because I'm really biting my tongue to make sure I don't say something that, okay, did I know this before Wednesday?
Right. That's why everything I'm saying, I'm making sure that I say, we knew this before. We talked about this previously.
Slowly and deliberately. And actually, it's pretty funny. But yes, during this conference call, I pretty much expect, that's probably the format we should do. So the call will be live. The conference call will be live. We'll be pretty much muting it in the background, and then we'll be answering questions. And I think this is going to be great because I know a lot of you will have a lot of questions about everything that we reveal on this upcoming Monday on both Diablo fans and on our YouTube page here, the Force Strategy YouTube page. So there's going to be a lot of news, a lot of updates. You guys are certainly going to be having some questions for us. So we'll pretty much spend the entirety of that answering your questions, and then once Diablo 3 gets mentioned, we'll stop all discussion. We'll turn up the volume in the conference call, and then we'll let you guys listen to it. And why would you do this as opposed to listen to the conference call directly? Well, it's boring, more or less.
Businessy stuff that most people don't really care about.
You have to realize that it is an investor conference call. A lot of it is just numbers. If you're interested in that, by all means, that's actually something I am interested in. I would typically listen to this, but I much rather kind of do it this way, keep you guys entertained, and then dull things down.
And we also show this presentation that they also show. So I mean, if you're watching our live cast, we're going to use YouTube again, so you can actually watch the presentation right through us while you're listening to our call or our live cast. And basically, I mean, since we are, a DiabloCast, we kind of just wait until the important Diablo stuff comes up, and then boom, like
Yeah.
Dennis was saying, we kind of just stop the discussion and we listen in also.
Yeah, so it'll be exciting nonetheless. We will hear something about the beta, and we'll get to talk to some of you guys in the community. It'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully, we get someone else on, either Tempest or Cyber Dragon would be nice.
Yep.
Who knows? Maybe another guest. We'll have to see what ends up happening, but pretty exciting stuff. Definitely, really, really looking forward to it. I mean, that's more or less it. We're gonna wrap things up. We're gonna grab some community questions. We do have no poll for this week. Very informal podcast and pretty much relatively short. It is because we have a lot of information. We just can't release it to you guys. Oh,
Yeah.
but actually, right before there is one thing I want to tell you guys. This is the biggest secret about the upcoming Diablo 3 beta that was revealed to us, and all right, so there you go, guys. Big secret. First to hear it here from that media event.
Yeah,
Hopefully
man, I
you
can't even
guys-
believe it.
Oh my god, my girlfriend just messaged me on Facebook. What the heck? All right, so let's go into community questions here. I told you this one was informal. So the first community question coming from Grez Gores. Man, that's
I thought we couldn't say his name, so we weren't gonna do it.
I'll do it.
right.
Anyways, this question is, how long will it take to complete the single player in D3? How long will it be? That's the same question twice, sir. So it was previously stated that by Bashok that they were aiming for about the same length as Diablo 2, and we're talking about game completion. We're not talking about the grind to the level cap. Why does she keep messaging me? So they said they actually were aiming for the same amount of time to level of completion, but they overshot it. So it looks like it will be a little bit longer than it took to complete all of the difficulties in Diablo 2. There we go. So that's the first question. Next question will be coming from Andreas, and this is kind of a YouTube question, but he asked me, for some review of most of your StarCraft videos, how will you scale your time? I don't know if you have a real job, but a lot of StarCraft plus a lot of Diablo plus social life and the high quality of your videos. I have a social life somewhat. I hang out with my cats. All right, all of that mixed together will take a lot of time. How are you going to make it fit without cutting down anything? Well, I just got 15 upload speed, and I was running off of 1, so I can upload content much faster, and this is actually going to allow me to keep up on top of everything. I plan on, a lot of StarCraft and a lot of Diablo, and I'll make it because this is my, quote, real job. I don't do anything else but this, so pretty cool, pretty awesome. All right, Kevin, you got a question or two over there?
Yeah, the first one from Daniel says, will we see a unicorn level, unicorn enemy, and or some kind of unicorn tribute in D3? Because he knows that me, Sixen, would love to see some unicorns, and I would have to admit that would be completely awesome, especially since we did the unicorn class as the 5th class for one of our April Fool's jokes on Diablo fans.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I'd love to see something, and I'm sure Blizzard will. I don't see them not doing something like that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Andre, there he is. Andre wants to know whether or not the Demon Hunter will be able to use two-handed bows or only dual wielding, and the answer to that is both. Essentially, she can use or he can use whatever they want to use. I mean, I'm sure that there's going to be some kind of difference. I mean, I'm sure like two-handed bows will maybe shoot slower, but I don't know, do more damage kind of a thing. Or dual-wielding bows you'll be able to shoot faster, but they do less damage because they're only one-handers, So yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to make some trade-offs there, but it's completely up to you, whatever you want to do. And this last one I got, I guess, is from Devon, I guess. He wants to know if the same retarded region locks will be in D3 as for StarCraft 2. And the answer is yes. We're region locked in D3 just like we are in StarCraft 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just they do that for a variety of reasons, and it is unfortunate for people who have friends who live in a different part of the world. But the truth is, you can always buy a second copy. Yes, that kind of sucks, but that's just what it is. So buy a second copy if you really like your friends. Otherwise, screw them. Actually, I'm going to grab one more question, and this one is from Louis. And he asks basically, he said, after the media event and your experience there, what will be your first main class when this beast is finally unleashed upon us? Well, Louis, I can tell you this is inconsequential of the event.
Yeah, same
Barbarian has been just my thoroughbred class. That's what I'm really yeah, I'm just a fan of any kind of warrior type of class in really any game that I play. I really like casters as well, but the bread and butter for me has always been the big heavy hitter melee guy. So I'm going for the barbarian, and I'm pretty sure, Kevin, you're sticking with what you initially were with, right?
Yep, I've been saying for the longest time that I wanted to go with the wizard, and then as soon as the demon hunter was announced, I said that I'd probably be making a DH alt. I mean, at the press event, I kind of really liked the monk, just because it was the first time I actually took some time to play the monk. I mean, I'm not giving any spoilers here, but I mean, I think that's safe to say.
Kevin played a monk.
Yeah,
Spoiler alert.
So yeah, I mean, he was pretty cool. I was kind of surprised, but I'm probably still gonna end up going with the wizard and a little bit of the DH. I mean, at one point in time, I'm sure we're all gonna play all the classes just so we can know them, especially in PvP. I mean, it'll help understanding how the other classes work. I'm sure the same thing works with StarCraft too. I mean, if you can play all the classes, then you'll be better at playing against the class or races. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the case. You know, being well-rounded and knowing about everything is the way to go in everything, life, games, all of that. All right, that's enough philosophy with Force. So that
Force philosophy, I love it.
That does it. Pretty, like I said, casual and relatively brief podcast, but we just wanted to kind of throw something out there for you. And again, we realize we are bursting at the seams right now.
I know,
both Kevin and I. We are working on a lot of material. I know there's you know, just a whole bunch of hoopla going around the forums and everything right now. People wondering about leaks and this and that and the other thing. But you'll get the official announcements on Monday through Diablo fans and through me, Force. So keep an eye out on our YouTube channels. Keep an eye on DiabloFans.com. Lots of excitement in the future. Tons of stuff going on next week. We've got that live event, you know, that live podcast for the conference call. And, you know, as soon as the beta does eventually drop, I know that, you know, Kevin and I and my buddy Tempest and a few others are going to be pumping out a lot of Diablo content. So it's exciting times. Yeah, it's exciting times. All right, guys. So, again, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you have enjoyed this episode of DiabloCast. Stay tuned next week for a crap ton of content. For Kevin, this has been Dennis. We will see you guys next time.
Take it easy, guys.
Oh man, it's like the entire time I was like, "Don't f up,
yeah,
don't,
dude, literally
don't say a spoiler."
Sure that was why everything I said. We've talked about this previously. I know we've talked about this previously.
We've known this before. We've known this before.
Yeah, exactly. I reiterated it every single time I said something, just so like if any of the Blizzard people listen and they're not like, "Oh, he just gave out this and that," you know?
Yeah, it's too funny. Come on, Monday, almost here.
Yeah, man. Like, I mean, I don't know. I'm psyched because, like, we're going to be able to talk about it finally, and a lot of people are going to have a lot of questions for us, especially because we were there.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. It's a lot of freaking work, man.
Yeah, I'm going to be busy. All right, well, with that said, see you later.
Yeah, right.
All right, so there you go. Big secret from the conference. No, I'm going to try that again. Sorry.
It's all good.
You even threw in your fake laugh. It's awesome.
Yeah, I did.
That was my fake laugh. You like it? All right, I'm gonna go in 3, 2.